Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul, joined by Robert Ziggy Ziegler up at Harvard University for a Bears-Vikings preview episode. Ziggy, massive game still for us, amazingly. At 4-5, if the Vikings win, they can honestly find their way back into competition in the NFC North, which, I guess is me talking myself into more heartbreak at some point down the line here. But it should be, still a very big game in Chicago, 6-3. They've won, 0-2 start. They've 6-1 since then. Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady on the call, 1 o'clock. The Vikings are 3-point favorites. Ziggy, are we feeling good going into this one?
So this is certainly a much more winnable game than the Baltimore Ravens game or even the Lions game, which we happen to win. The thing that we need to see as Vikings fans coming into this game and that I'm more worried about is how the offensive play calling is going to work. Mm-hmm. The Chicago Bears we have seen over the past few weeks are teams that can actually beat you in a shootout. This is not the Chicago Bears offense of years past, where if your defense was okay and your offense could put up 3 touchdowns, the game was just over. You have to actually score against the Bears. And we've seen with the Vikings as games have gone on, the offense consistently gets off to strong starts, but JJ McCarthy gets worse as game goes on. So if this ends up like, say, the Bears-Bengals game where it's a shootout going into the fourth quarter, I'm a lot less confident in what we're going to be able to do. So for me, the big key for the Vikings this game is getting off to a strong start and trying to use that with a better run game, better blocking from the offensive line to try and stay ahead of the Bears. Because if you get in a shootout with this Bears team, they have shown you, to the surprise of a lot of people, including myself, they can win those.
Well, the last time they played, the Vikings did not get off to a strong start. In fact, they were down 17-6 before you could call it a borderline magical fourth quarter comeback with JJ McCarthy. So yeah, getting off to that, just finding rhythm offensively. We can start with the Vikings offense. Finding rhythm offensively early is going to be really important. And getting JJ, check downs, anything to let him get comfortable and get into the game, because we've seen now, what would you say, 3 of the 4 games JJ's played, he's struggled in. The Lions game, he wasn't great in the Detroit game either, but he was good enough to win that game. And against Baltimore, I still think it was better than the Chicago and Atlanta performances to open the season, but we're still looking at 2 turnovers. And yes, they were both on deep shots to Justin Jefferson, one of which Justin fell, the other one throw into double coverage. I didn't like the throw. A lot of people were upset with Jefferson on the play.
But the throw wasn't good either.
It wasn't a good throw.
Give up on an easy catch.
But you're right. Kevin O'Connell received a lot of criticism this week, particularly on one of those 3rd and 1 plays where he took a deep shot to Jefferson and it was intercepted by Marlon Humphrey. I'm actually with O'Connell that it was okay to take that shot when you have Justin Jefferson one-on-one against cover 0. That's cool with me. I'll take those chances as well. But the Vikings ran the ball 13 times and they had a lot of success on the ground. People are saying, Kevin, why are you leaning away from the ground game here? And JJ shouldn't. Why is JJ throwing the ball 40 plus times? So a little more balanced play calling for Minnesota is going to be really important. And, I am paying attention to what are they doing with Justin Jefferson. Are they going to look to get him involved early and often? And I would do that if I were the Vikings, because one, clearly, best player in the league on your team, you got to find ways to get him involved. But 2, you don't really want this. Is there any concern with you that this could roll over and become something with Justin?
It's too early to say something like that. And you've said this a few times. Justin Jefferson deserves the benefit of the doubt 100%. Yeah. When he was negotiating a big extension with us, he didn't cause any trouble, any drama. That's why this last week stands out, is because this is really the first time you've even had to wonder about Justin Jefferson's commitments. I am not worried about this long term. I do not think this is something that's going to roll over. But on the other hand, if you don't get Justin Jefferson involved, regardless of how he feels about it and whether he's pouting or not, he's the best player on this offense. We need to get him more involved regardless of any of that. We will not win this game, and I'm not sure we'll win any more football games unless we can get Justin Jefferson to actually do something on the field. Like, I love Jalen Nailor, and Jalen Nailor had a great game, but Justin Jefferson can do better than him.
Couple key areas that I'm looking at. One of them, obviously, is turnovers. They impact every single game. Kevin O'Connell said the Vikings are 33-4 when under his tenure in Minnesota, when they are either tied or win the turnover battle, which I thought was just a remarkable stat, even being tied, right? 33-4. I mean, the Vikings, I think that goes to show with under O'Connell, the Vikings have been a very good team. When they're not shooting themselves in the foot, they win a lot more than they lose. But with JJ so far, 6 interceptions in 4 games. And the Bears, on the other hand, have the number 1 turnover differential in football, plus 14. And by a wide margin, too. Plus 14 for Chicago. Jacksonville and Tampa Bay are second at plus 8. So after that, the Bears are doubling up on 29 teams in the league in turnover differential this year. A big factor of that is going to be keeping JJ clean in the pocket. And the Bears pass rush hasn't been great this season. That's what a lot of fans were upset they didn't go and make a move at the deadline. Montez Sweat is playing better than he has all year right now, but there's just not a lot of depth behind him. So that's just one area to focus on is the turnover battle. And can JJ take advantage of a weak Chicago secondary right now? Tyreek Stevenson's been bad.
It's been a weak Chicago secondary, but CJ Gardner-Johnson is really unexpectedly for me. I felt like his good days were mostly behind him. Not only has he played great on the field, but in Chicago, they're calling him the Energizer Bunny. And the reason is simple, right? This guy, he hasn't just transformed like his own area of play with Chicago, but it feels like when he's on the field, when he's getting sacks, when he's breaking up passes, when he's generating these big plays, that's getting the secondary playing with an energy when they felt really deflated with all the injuries. And in the NFL, obviously, like talent matters a lot, but so too does just playing hard with good effort, especially when you've got a quarterback or you're facing a quarterback that can get easily rattled by pressure and things not going his way. So you're right that the secondary is a lot weaker. And if they had Jalen Johnson back, I would be significantly more concerned. But it's not like you're playing the Giants. This is not the easiest matchup in the NFL.
CJ Gardner-Johnson, 3 sacks in 2 games? He had 2 last week. Did he force a fumble as well?
Yes. No, he's had some incredible games.
Yeah, Ben Johnson, I was talking about him as one of his press conferences earlier this week, and he was just saying, like, yeah, that dude, he's always been a playmaker. Like, he's always been a good football player, and when he was cut by Philly, he kind of felt a little lost, but we brought him in, and he's really gelling with the team, and you can see that he immediately, the impact that he's made on that defense.
Well, the Bears are just using him much better than the Texans did. The Texans,
the Texans, not Philly. My bad.
Yeah, he was also for the Ravens. He was used in deep coverage. The Bears thought, wait a second, this guy's basically a better linebacker. Let's use him Let's use him aggressively. Let's use him to blitz. Let's use him to disrupt things near the line of scrimmage as a slot defender. The results have been great. Yeah. On the other hand, though, it's not as if Minnesota's defense lacks playmakers either.
Well, we could be lacking our biggest one in Jonathan Grenard on Sunday, who's luckily avoided a serious injury, but O'Connell came out and said it's looking like, I think it's going to be a little murky for Grenard to get on the field on Sunday. And if he's not there, we've seen how this Vikings defense operates without Van Ginkel for a lot of this season. You start relying on Dallas Turner a little bit more, who's had his ups and downs, more downs, I would say, than ups. And when you're chasing Caleb Williams around all day, you need your top tier guys. How many times did it feel like the first time we played the Bears, Ziggy, where Grenard got to Caleb and Caleb would do, his little like Houdini act behind the line of scrimmage and get out of the pocket, make a play, or, even just get the ball away, right? Throw it out of bounds, live to see another day. That felt like it happened at least 5 times, maybe with just Grenard.
And that's been the big difference for Chicago's offense this year. Caleb Williams has done a much better job of avoiding the negative plays that plagued his rookie season. His rookie season, he took 68 sacks?
Yeah, 68.
Now through 10 weeks, he's taken 14. Some of that is offensive line play improving a little bit, but most of it, as you say, is Caleb Williams with Ben Johnson has managed to do a very good job balancing his escapability and ability to create these really big plays without taking some of the huge sacks that ruined it last year.
Yeah, and it's not just about him being able to escape, but it's the decision making too, leading up to it and during the chase down, where Caleb in the past has tried to make something out of nothing, and every now and then he tries a little too hard We saw it firsthand in the Vikings-Bears game in Soldier Field last year. Bears had this wild comeback, recover an onside kick. When they get the ball in overtime, Caleb takes him out of it immediately because he has a 15-yard sack, and that ends their drive. Vikings win the game. So he's been much better in that area. And which starts and ends with Chicago. Seriously, though, their rushing attack has been awesome. Averaging 185 yards per game the last 5 games. They're second in the league per game on the ground. I think in total yards, they're also like, let me see. They're third in the league in total yards per game right now. And, that's just going off what you said at the beginning of the show. The Bears offense has been rolling. They're, 6th, 7th, 8th in the league and 7th in the league in points per game too. You got to win up front. You got to slow down DeAndre Swift, the engine of the offense, as you say. Kyle Monanga's come on and played really well. If you can slow those guys down, put them in second and long, try and get them into third and longs, that's when you could really pin back your ears and go after Caleb, try and make him make a mistake. But if you let them have success early on the ground, they get into these second and short situations. That's when you open the playbook up for Ben Johnson. And he's been really creative this year. And you find yourself in dangerous situations with the Dunze and Loveland, who have been playing really well. To me, it starts and ends there with stopping these guys in the backfield.
Well, you have to, because in order for Brian Flores to do a lot of the tricky stuff he loves to do, send your weird exotic blitz packages, have guys flying all over the field, you can't do that if the Bears can hand the ball off for 6 or 7 yards anytime they want.
Yeah.
Because then when Caleb Williams sees a confusing backfield, he can just say, all right, DeAndre Swift, go get the first down.
And that's what was kind of bizarre about, well, look, the past 2 weeks, the Vikings have played Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Derrick Henry, and Lamar Jackson. So we've been facing off, with the best of the best. And the success we had against Detroit was awesome. I mean, what did Gibbs have? Like 25 yards or something like that?
Yeah, we limited their total rushing yards that game to 65.
Yeah, and Gibbs had 9 carries, I think. And it looked like we were doing the same to Baltimore. And then the third quarter, they found a lot of success with Henry. Keaton Mitchell had a couple big runs. They actually legitimately ran Lamar Jackson on a 3rd or 4th and 1 later in the game. And we just couldn't stop them. It felt like one of those drives where the other team's just enforcing their will on you. And that's what leaves me wondering which Vikings defense are we going to see. And part of that, Ziggy, though, might be that the offense was not helping us at all against Baltimore. Continuously putting the defense on the field. Got to get a little tired. But we need that Detroit defense to show up to win this game.
Yeah, and it would certainly help if the Bears offense, at least in terms of drops that we saw last week, shows up. I saw a headline this week: buy tickets to see how Olamide Zaccheaus versus the Vikings. I think that may have been an auto-generated title from a Bears website, because I don't think any Bears fan is really excited to see what Zaccheaus does this week.
We got to give him a little break. I'm
not here to pick on him too much. I mean, it was a team-wide issue.
Yeah, that hasn't been a problem.
If we can opt into 7 drops, I'd be very happy if the Bears have 7 drops again against us.
Yeah, that hasn't been a problem for Chicago this year, though. At least to my knowledge. You can. But one big difference: we're going to be inside 75-degree US Bank Stadium, not snowy, freezing cold Soldier Field. I think that was more of an anomaly. But yeah, look, if the Bears, if they want to drop the football, I'm all for it. One final thing before we make our prediction here. It was just a stat that I've told like 10 different people now, and I said it on the show with Andy the other day. A critical area for the Vikings will come down to short yardage situations where they're just horrendous. And we're one of the few teams in the league, Ziggy, where we get it to 2nd and 1, and I'm like, all right, I might be punting. And we've had 22 situations now with JJ McCarthy where it's 3rd or 4th and short, less than 3 yards to go. One of them was an offsides, first down for the Vikings. One of them was a fumble. I believe that was the Atlanta game when JJ lost the snap. There's been 6 runs. Of those 6 runs, the Vikings have converted 5 of them for first downs. 14 passes, 0 completed passes.
Which it's incomprehensible.
4 sacks, 2 interceptions. I mean, that right there, you combine that stat with the turnover numbers I was just talking about. That's all it takes. The Vikings can move the ball up and down the field all day. You get into the red zone, you have third, fourth, and short, can't convert, you throw a turnover, you lose games. I mean, that's against Philly, right? How many times against Philly we got in the red zone, couldn't convert? And a lot of those are on short yardage situations. You have to be able to make the small plays. And these aren't they're not, I'm not asking you to complete a 3rd and 12, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th and 1. You got to be able to pick it up at least a couple times. And it's just been a nightmare for Minnesota. So, yeah, I'm paying attention to the Vikings' ability to execute there. And then slowing down the Bears' run game. Those are the areas I'm circling. And it should be a lot of fun. I mean, the first matchup was awesome for us. Not really a great game until the fourth quarter, but it should be a lot of fun. The Vikings are currently 3-point favorites. I think that went up a half point. Who's your pick?
The Bears are trending up. The Vikings are trending down. As much as I want to say this is a game where the Vikings are able to reverse the trends, I've been really impressed with how the Bears have played over the past few weeks. I do not think the Bears are a real Super Bowl contender. I'm not even sure they're going to make the playoffs. But when they play teams that they can beat, the Bears just seem to keep finding ways to win. So as much as it pains me to say it, I think Caleb Williams is going to get it done. I don't think our defense is going to be quite good enough. I've got the Bears in a nail biter.
I'm really worried about Grenard being out. He's just been, every time you hear a play from this Vikings defense, it's Grenard or Van Ginkel, pretty much.
Yeah.
Or Redmond. Redmond's also been great. But it's somewhere along that defensive line. My gut tells me to go Chicago, but I have to pick my team. So, all right, I'm going to pick the Vikings. We'll give a little skull here. We'll wrap it up. We're going to have 3 different game previews coming out today. This one and then 2 more for the other NFC North games. Our full episode, full week 11 predictions will come out Friday just because of some scheduling conflicts that we have today. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one, and I'll see you then.